Well, first of all, let me thank you for all being here today. When you do something new like this, you never really know whether you're going to get a big crowd or whether anybody will show up. There were points when I thought if this didn't work, I'd have to fire the person who came up with the idea. The problem is it was my idea, and I wasn't all that anxious to fire myself. So from the deepest part of my heart, I thank you for being here, so I will still have a job tomorrow. But I know you're not here because of me. You're here because you care about Winthrop University and what Winthrop means to you. So what we'll talk about today is Winthrop and you. First, I'd like to again give a special thanks to all of you who participated in the campus work groups and committees during this last year, as well as all of those who met with me personally during our divisional and departmental meetings. Your insights were invaluable in putting together the plan we'll talk about today. I also want to welcome our good friends who have joined us today, members of the community, representatives of government, members of boards and councils. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your presence and your interest in Winthrop's future. In order to talk about where we're going, I think it's important to take just a few minutes to review where we have been and where we are now. In 1886, D.B. Johnson created an institution that provided young women, including some from humble circumstances, with the opportunity to be careers as teachers. I truly believe D.B. was a visionary because he saw the importance of a well-rounded educational experience. Students at Winthrop did not simply learn how to teach, but rather participated in a truly holistic educational experience that prepared them to have a major impact on society. Throughout the early 1900s, Winthrop earned a reputation as a premier women's college. While the quality of its teacher preparation remained constant, the institution began to offer more academic programs and earned strong recognition in a variety of other areas. Winthrop continued to change in other significant and important ways. In 1964, Winthrop enrolled its first African-American students. And 10 years later, in 1974, Winthrop College became coeducational. In the 1980s, Winthrop began participation in intercollegiate athletics, and in the 1990s, assumed university status. The university also continued to change its appearance, with the renovations of buildings and the additions of the West Center, the DeGiorgio Center, and Scholars Walk, all of which have contributed to our beautiful campus. These changes did not always occur easily and were often accompanied by some disagreements, but we benefit from the vision and resolve of those who made possible the Winthrop we've come to know and love. So where does Winthrop stand today? Winthrop continues to be widely known for our stellar student experience. We provide an environment where our motivated, engaged students can thrive. We have built a solid institutional reputation. Earlier this month, Winthrop continued its long streak by again appearing in the U.S. News and World Report top 10 ranking of public master's degree granting institutions in the South. I want to make it clear, we have not, and do not intend to chase rankings. But some of our priorities are well reflected in the calculations that are used by U.S. News. It's also important to note that one of our strongest measures for us in that ranking is our positive reputation among our peer institutions, which we should be proud of. The National Survey for Student Engagement, or NSSE, is the gold standard for measuring student experiences and has provided evidence of how well our efforts compare to other colleges and universities. First, our students indicate they receive more academic and non-academic support than do students at other institutions. Second, our students have more frequent and more meaningful interactions with faculty than at comparable institutions. Third, our students are more active on campus and in the community. They're far more likely to take on leadership roles during their time at Winthrop. Fourth, Winthrop students are more likely to complete internships and indicate they've developed job-related skills. They also indicate they are more informed citizens, are more globally aware, and have had more experience with diversity and exposure to diverse perspectives. Finally, our students indicate their Winthrop experience has challenged them academically and has done a better job than most of improving their written and oral communication skills, critical thinking skills, and problem-solving skills. That's important because employers tell us those are the skills which are essential for future success. These areas of strength make up what I will call the Winthrop experience. It's an experience that not only significantly exceeds national averages in the NSSE, but exceeds anything I've seen in my past higher educational experiences. I could spend the rest of the day providing examples of how I've seen the Winthrop experience come to life, but I know most of you could do that as well. And here's what I find particularly interesting. I've already talked about the many ways the institution has changed over the last 130 years. But when I talk to a graduate from the 1940s, or a graduate from last year, it often seems like they're describing the same place because the Winthrop experience I just described has remained constant over time. In fact, it's really just a continuation of D.B. Johnson's vision of a supported, well-rounded education that prepares students to have an impact on the world. I think we should be proud of this legacy, and I can tell you personally, I take the responsibility that comes with it very seriously. We are clearly building on success, and we want to ensure we do not lose what has made this university so special for so many people for so many years. That being said, we are facing challenging times, and that will require us to adapt and change, just as Winthrop has had to adapt and change in the past. There's an old curse: may you live in interesting times. For higher education, these are very interesting times. More so than just about any other field of endeavor, higher education, particularly public colleges and universities, face circumstances dramatically different from just 20 years ago. The schools that choose not to adapt put themselves at peril. In fact, there are universities across the country currently dealing with significant financial crises. We are fortunate that we are not one of them. We continue to be financially stable and had another strong financial year last year. This does not mean, however, we can ignore these challenges and avoid change. Across the country, state budgets for higher education have dropped significantly over the last 20 years. In South Carolina, it has gone from more than 40% in the mid-1990s to about 10% last year. I actually began my first academic leadership role in 1995, and I have often said I felt like I've been dealing with budget challenges ever since. This chart makes it pretty clear that it's just not my imagination. While we must continue to work hard to increase our support from the state, I'm not dwelling on this. I know our legislators face an onslaught of competing demands supported by finite resources. It's simply the new reality that we face. We've recovered some of the state's support, and I certainly hope that we will recover more, but I don't think anybody truly believes we'll ever return to those previous levels. At the same time, costs for institutions are going up for a variety of reasons, including deferred maintenance, increased student services, employee benefits, and compliance costs, just to name a few. Reduced state funding and increasing costs have forced greater reliance on tuition and fees. We know that there are changes occurring that present both opportunities and challenges in this area. Recently, the Education Advisory Board presented to our academic and administrative leadership the results of their study on revenue trends in higher education. In addition to highlighting the decline in government support, they identified challenges in increasing revenue through tuition growth because of increased competition for recent high school graduates. This population is declining in many parts of the country. At the same time, a number of institutions, particularly large public universities, are looking to grow their freshman enrollment. What has resulted has been an increased expenditure on financial aid for incoming freshmen by many institutions, and more focused efforts to keep tuition and fee increases modest. The report also noted the number of adult students is growing faster than traditional students. As a public university president, I truly believe we have an obligation to meet the needs of this potential population of students, but that will require new programs and new approaches. And this population of students is large in our local area. For example, a review of the U.S. Census shows that there are more than 40,000 individuals in York and Lancaster counties alone who characterize themselves as some college but no degree. And thanks to technology, students interact with the world and take advantage of opportunities afforded by new technologies in profoundly different ways than they did in the past. Today, students have the capacity to employ technology on multiple devices that they carry with them. This will continue to have an impact on the delivery of education at universities and colleges. In addition to state appropriations and tuition and fees, the other major source of revenue for institutions is fundraising. While this has traditionally been more of a strength at private institutions, it's become an increasing area of emphasis for public institutions as well, who all must develop a culture of philanthropy in order to move forward as institutions while lessening the financial burden on students. Overall, we clearly need to revise our strategic plan to reflect this new environment so we can continue to provide to our students what is needed today while continuing to ensure the same Winthrop experience that generations of our graduates have enjoyed. We must demonstrate the same determination as those have in the past if we want to keep Winthrop moving forward. Now, before I discuss the strategic plan itself, it is important that you understand our approach to presenting the plan and for implementing the plan. It will be transparent. Our goals and how we're measuring them will be public for everyone to see. Every year, people will know not only what our goals are for the long term, but also what our goals are for the short term. Every year, we will evaluate our success in meeting our targets, which will be captured in the metrics you will see in just a few moments. Given that many of these are ambitious, we may not always reach them, and that's okay, because we'd rather reach further than be complacent. In fact, for each metric, we have also set a stretch target to push ourselves even further. But when we don't achieve our targets, it is an opportunity to evaluate why and continually look for ways to improve. In addition, this plan and the process of reviewing it will drive our resource allocations. Because our environment is more fiscally challenging, we must ensure that we dedicate our resources to our most critical needs and not spend them on things that would simply be nice to do. Every discussion related to resource allocation will come back to the plan and whether each proposed expenditure furthers our ability to reach our goals. In other words, this is not a plan that will sit on a shelf collecting dust. We will live and breathe it every day, and everyone will know who we are and what we're trying to achieve. For the sake of brevity, I'm going to summarize the Winthrop plan presented on the following slides, but we'll also make those available on the website, along with the recording of this presentation for those who weren't able to be here today. Strategic goal number 1, to have the impact on students, the region, and the state that we intend, we must grow enrollment, increase access, and focus on improving student success. Watch this short video where Aaron Eichelberger describes his time here.
Winthrop is an amazing place. There's so much diversity, there's so much respect, and there's so much tolerance that's fostered in the Winthrop environment. It has given me an altruistic heart through the focus of civic engagement. Also, it's given me critical thinking skills. It's given me an opportunity to work with other students and to do it effectively.
Well, thank you, Aaron. Now, how are we going to measure our progress? As we've discussed, it's important that we don't lose the high-touch Winthrop experience, so our growth will not be massive and will not simply focus on growing the freshman class. Our growth must be thoughtful and strategic, but let me be clear, we must grow. Our retention and graduation rates are consistent with national averages for public universities, but we need them to be better. Reducing student debt has become a national issue, and it's a focus here as well. It is important to remember that the most significant challenges faced by those with student debt are not experienced by those who complete their degree, but rather by those who do not, which is why graduation is so critically important. Placement after graduation is also very important to our students and their families. Winthrop's placement rate, which includes securing a job or enrolling in graduate school, is already very, very high, which makes incremental improvements more challenging, but it's a challenge we want to accept. We are proud of our diversity, which is already greater than most public institutions. However, we want to make sure we maintain that emphasis on recruiting a diverse student body, while also focusing on increasing the diversity of our diversity by reaching out to student populations that have not been as well represented at Winthrop. If we want students to succeed in a world that is increasingly globalized, we must give them a chance to experience diversity while they're on our campus. And what can we do to hit these targets? We will focus on developing new programs for our students so they stay at Winthrop University and stay on track to graduate as quickly as possible. We must continue to develop and revise our academic programs so that we meet the needs of these students, including prospective adult students who live in the region and are seeking an opportunity to complete bachelor degrees or receive graduate level training to advance their careers. As I've outlined here today, we've got a great story to tell and a lot to be proud of. However, we must stop being a well-kept secret, and we need to do a better job of telling the Winthrop story. As the demographics of the potential college students continue to change, we must also continue to refine our recruitment plan so we can attract a group of students who are diverse and who will be successful here. Strategic goal number 2. We must ensure that we provide the same powerful Winthrop experience that benefited previous generations, but updated for today's students. Moreover, we want to elevate our reputation as an institution and undertake initiatives that will serve as a model for others. It is the way that we can have an impact on the world beyond our campus. I believe we already have some model programs, and we want to do more. Listen to Lynn Tran talk about what she's been afforded as a Winthrop student.
I love Winthrop University. I couldn't imagine myself anywhere else. It's challenging and rewarding at the same time. The professors know what they're doing. Winthrop is undergraduate centered, and so as a freshman, as a sophomore, I can be published, I can travel and present at conferences, and that's not a chance that you get at other schools.
Thank you, Lynn. So how do we go about measuring our success in achieving this goal? As I mentioned, NESE is the gold standard for measuring student engagement, and we will continue to measure ourselves against that standard. We want to continue to be leaders in the engagement of students in high-impact practices, faculty-student interactions, and exposure to diversity. As you can see, our metrics are already well ahead of national averages, but we still seek to improve. Again, we just don't want to be better than others. We want to be the model for others of what is possible. To become a national model, we have to be on the cutting edge. We have to lead from the front by undertaking new programs, both inside and outside the classroom. In order to meet these targets, we're going to focus on developing new programs, as well as enhancing current programs that have the potential to truly be innovative and a model for others. We believe that part of the Winthrop experience must include outreach and meaningful interactions with our neighbors in Rock Hill, the region, and South Carolina. And we must provide students with more opportunities for global learning experiences that will equip them to continue to be the leaders they have been here as students well after they graduate. Strategic goal number 3. Our students deserve the finest faculty and staff to help them realize their individual definitions of success. Listen as Ashley Briggs talks about the impact Dr. Adolphus Belk has had on her life.
Dr. Adolphus Belk has impacted my life in a way that I always feel so inspired by him. My first impression with Dr. Belk is this man does not play. He's very passionate, and if I want to succeed in his class, then I'm going to have to put in everything that I have in order to be successful. I grew up in a single-parent household, and there was a time when I'm not sure if you remember this, but there was a time that I was find myself stuck because a lot of people didn't believe in me, and I just needed someone to give me a little boost of encouragement. I went and talked to him, and he did that for me. So just having him as a male figure in the classroom does a lot for people like me who didn't get that chance to have their father in their life.
Thank you, Ashley. That's I think I've seen that video 4 times, and it moves me every time I see it. So how do we build on the record of success achieved by Dr. Belk and others? While we have diversity among some group of employees, we must increase the diversity of our faculty and managerial staff. It is fundamental to our future success. If we're going to effectively engage a diverse student population, it is important that we are diverse ourselves. We must improve salaries for our employees so they are competitive. If our salaries are at 50% of the median, it means we have salaries that are at the averages. We're not there yet, but we need to get there, and we need to be comparable to our competitors. But we also aspire to do even more. Satisfaction is critical for retention. It demonstrates a shared sense that Winthrop is committed to our faculty and to our staff. How do we work to achieve these metrics? By increasing the diversity of our candidate pools, we will end up with greater diversity. I've experienced this at other universities. When we had diverse pools, over time we saw significant change in the diversity of both our faculty and managerial staff. At this point, I believe there's more we can do to ensure diversity in our candidate pools. In order to reach our compensation goals, we must remain committed to a plan that's going to get us there. Enhancing professional development was one of the things identified by 2 of our working groups last year and can help us improve our success in a variety of other areas that are already within this plan. Strategic goal number 4. We must provide a learning environment that prepares our students for success. This includes enhancements to facilities, technology, and programs, which are all critical to the learning environment. Watch Tom Quinlan share his thoughts on the campus.
The greatest thing about Winthrop's campus is the mix between the old school and the new school. These new technology, this 24-hour library that we have is unbelievable. Access to screens and hooking your laptops in and having access to over thousands of documents to do research. To be able to have an incredible technology center for the education department, and then to have the Bloomberg Trading Center for the MBA program, And then also to have some of the science equipment for the biology and the nutrition students that I've heard from other students is just incredible for a school this size. But also having the classic architecture and the history on this campus is just beautiful.
Thank you, Tom. I couldn't have summarized it better myself. How do we measure whether we are providing this type of educational environment that we want for our students? In order to remain competitive and provide a 21st century learning experience, we must increase access to technology inside the classroom and better utilize technology in how we provide educational experiences. The Winthrop experience is broadly acknowledged for its students' first focus. That will remain one of our highest priorities, and we must continually assess student satisfaction with the services that support our focus. I want to draw your attention to this last metric. Maintaining a beautiful and historic campus is not cheap. Renovation and upkeep can be expensive, and we must continue to dedicate more resources towards this effort. This does not always mean tearing down old buildings and erecting new ones. This, frankly, would not be the best approach for Winthrop. The traditional beauty of our campus is one of our greatest strengths. We simply need to invest in it. How do we provide this type of environment? We must invest in technology, not for the sake of saying we're doing so, but because it promotes the academic success of our students. It will also allow us to impact students we would not have reached otherwise. As we grow as a university, our campus will adapt and grow. We have to do so mindfully and with a plan. We must adopt a campus master plan to reflect our priorities and raise the money to either renovate or build what we need. And speaking of money, goal number 5. The public universities that succeed in the coming years must be thoughtful and careful of how they use their resources and must have an effective fundraising operation. Listen as our alumnus and benefactor, Harry Dalton, talks about the incredible value of a donation to Winthrop that Winthrop represents.
A gift of a significant amount to Winthrop goes so much farther, I think, in doing something that's needed to be done for students than can be done at larger universities where they have almost unlimited funding. Endowments so big that they can hardly manage the foundation. They don't know what to do with the money in some cases. Look at Winthrop. Beautiful campus, beautiful program, beautiful, wonderful faculty, has everything going for it. I would tell somebody to look at Winthrop on a comparative basis with what they're getting for the dollar. Look at students that come out here, look at their track record after they've graduated. Look what they've done in the professionals, in the professional lines, what they've done in industry, what they've done in medicine, what they've done in arts. And you say, my gosh, it's the world's best untold story. How can I give my money to Winthrop? That's what I like to hear people say.
Thank you, Harry, for all that you do for us, and again, couldn't say that better myself either. How do we measure our success in securing the resources we need? We accept that state support will not return to what it was 20 years ago, and we cannot expect our students and their families to make up the difference with large tuition increases. In recent years, the Board of Trustees at Winthrop University has responded to the financial urgency felt by families by keeping tuition increases among the lowest in nearly 2 decades. In order to continue to maintain low tuition increases, we must grow enrollment, and we have to be aggressive in increasing our goals for fundraising. Increasing the endowment and unrestricted gifts provides us with the resources we need today and will ensure the long-term financial viability of the university. While these gifts will not come only from our alumni, people tend to invest more when alumni demonstrate a strong belief and commitment to their institution by giving back. A priority for our fundraising will be scholarships. That's not to say we haven't been providing for student needs. In addition to the amount of scholarships and grants provided by Winthrop, about 40% of our students receive Pell Grants, and a large percentage receive the in-state scholarships. Our students received about a total of $45 million in scholarships and grants when all sources are combined, which essentially reduces the net tuition paid by the average student to roughly over half of the total in-state rate. That's good, but we have to do better. As we move forward, we also have to be careful about taking on more debt as an institution, because debt naturally limits our financial flexibility and our opportunity to use resources elsewhere. So, how do we secure and effectively utilize these necessary resources? The world of university development is changing, and we must utilize and develop modern approaches for engaging donors and encouraging a culture of philanthropy that inspires prospective donors to invest in Winthrop's future. This must go beyond our advancement staff. and will require the efforts of a large group of supporters both on and off campus. Our requests for support must match the goals and priorities in this plan. Increasing scholarship support is critical. I don't want any qualified students to feel that Winthrop education is financially out of their reach, and scholarship support can make a huge difference to our students with need. But we also need to seek state support and donations to enhance the educational environment in support of the student experience. It is important to keep in mind that support for facilities, technology, and equipment allows us to make necessary improvements without putting the cost on students and their families. Put simply, support in these areas helps keep our tuition lower. To succeed, again, we must rely on our alumni. But we also must expand beyond our alumni to include the entire Winthrop family in our efforts to secure the university's future. In addition, we must develop a new budget model that focuses resources on our strategic priorities and ensures we meet the needs of those students. And finally, again, debt reduction will allow us to redirect resources to other priorities that we've outlined in this plan. Now, in conclusion, I know this is a lot, and it's a lot to digest and a lot for an institution to undertake. But if we do our jobs, we will reach our end point. Winthrop will be a national model for providing a supportive, high-quality, and affordable educational experience that has a positive impact on students and the community. But let me emphasize that we cannot reach these goals without working together. It took a group effort to develop the plan, and it will take an even large group effort to implement it. Clearly, this is not something one person or any small group of people can do. This will involve us all. If you are in this room right now, then you have a role to play, because we cannot develop new and innovative programs without the hard work of our faculty and staff. We cannot increase student success without the efforts of all who support the educational experience of our students, including members of our local community, as well as, frankly, hard work from the students themselves. We cannot build a strong culture of philanthropy without the support from our entire campus community, as well as our alumni and friends. We might not all think of ourselves as entrepreneurs, and change can be scary, but we must be open to change and exploring new possibilities so we can improve year after year. Again, we all have a role to play in the implementation of the Winthrop Plan, and I ask each of you to find the many ways that you can contribute. If we all do that, I am confident that we will be able to stand together in 2025 with pride in the success that we have achieved. Thank you in advance for all that you will do in the years to come to support this plan and this great institution, and thank you for your time today.